Is that J for Josh? Is that you, Josh?
Josh is on.
All right, I'll be quiet now.
Oh, do we have Rob?
No, not yet.
And I don't know that Chris Boshers is joining us this evening.
He is.
Oh, he is. Is he on though? I don't see him.
Not yet.
He had trouble finding the link. I sent it to him.
Oh, okay, thank you. So it should just be another minute.
He was such a millennial, Josh.
Not quite, but
Listen, I don't even know how to share my screen, so which is a problem.
You did. You managed last time.
No, John did it for me. John
Oh.
did it. Yeah.
Good evening, all. My name is Don Ferrick. I'm filling in for Steve Honing this evening.
Thank you.
There's Rob.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. With that said, I'm going to hope that Christopher Boshers joins in a moment. But I'll wait till 7:02 and okay, I'd like to call the May 20th meeting of the Board of Architectural Review to order. What did you say, Rob?
Nothing.
Okay, the first application is with regard to the Santana Steyer home at 24 Tower Hill Road East. It's a continuation of the discussion of a change in paint color on a historical landmark home in the village, which is a Bruce Price home. We've been asked to review the change of color, and our review naturally began with a look at the colors of the home as envisioned by Price and Forward. And I've asked Josh Aaron, who's been kind enough to do a little research for us, to share the screen and show us what it looked like and have a small discussion on where we were with it.
sure. Just bear with me one
Okay.
moment. Okay. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a photograph as the house was constructed in 1886 in its original Bruce Price configuration. As you can see, it was much smaller than what's there now. The siding was cedar. As you can see, the trim, we can't tell from a black and white photo, but could have possibly been a near black color with white window sashes. I believe later on, I think the date was 1907, the house was significantly altered and expanded, converted to stucco, assumed a new architectural style. However, maintained kind of a similar contrast between the base color of the house and the the dark color of the trim.
Thank you. So from our perspective, we have that in the back of our minds and seeking to preserve the landmarks of the village. With that background, because this is the second visit, Nanaya, do you want to share where you are with the color scheme? We did a site visit. You had presented some colors, some other discussions were made.
I have to appeal to John to bring up those pictures, please, because I can't do it. John, are you there?
He's starting to share.
Thank you, John. Perfect. So yes, so the other Christopher asked me to do sort of a to do the stucco and the metro gray, which I did, and then do the bachelor blue, which I did, to do if it kind of flowed well with the pillars. I mean, take in mind that this pillar has not yet been power washed. Neither has that stucco. Neither has that door. But anyway, and so I did that. according to the request. And I think it goes beautifully. I think it flows perfectly. And if, John, can we go to the bottom picture, please? So the top, again, Metro Gray on the stucco. On the left, on the very top is the Comet. On the middle is the Bachelor Blue. And on the black was the board's suggestion of the ocean floor. So I mean, do you want to hear my opinion yet? Or do we save it for later, or?
No, I think you should make your case.
Okay, so my case is this. I agree that the house was historical way back when it was shingles and it was Bruce Price. It has not been historical since 1907, when it was stuccoed over and the 2 wings were built. Keeping in mind that, you know, shingles has nothing to do with the color of the pink putty that it is today. And whether it was brown back in the day with the timbering, one can only assume, but I don't know. It's a very large house. And it is a house that needs definite contrast. But the contrast that it needs, I think, is something that needs to ground it and keep it soft on the eyes. Not this darker color, which is the ocean floor, which is close to black. And it's actually quite muted and very dull. So we are keeping the window trims white. So just the timbering would be that Bachelor Blue. And you know, it's a huge project. It is a project that's going to take 2 months. There's a lot of, not a lot, but there's a fair amount of wood rot that is going to be replaced. It is, I'm sorry, that's my dog, ignore him. The process is quite extensive. And I, you know, do think, and I've had other people that are knowledgeable come and look to see if my color scheme was completely off. And believe it or not, they actually agreed that it was pretty much for the contrast, which is what we're looking for, that it was pretty nice, actually. I believe that, you know, this is something, again, that's going to ground the house. It's not going to make it light and airy. If we were to go with the Comet, and if we went to go with the bottom one, which is dark, I think it would look like a Tudor, which it is not a Tudor house. It just isn't. I mean, what Tudor house has an arbor to begin with? They just don't. I think that I understand the board's opinion and I appreciate the opinion. But I really do think that this color combination that we have chosen, and it took a while. I mean, this process started quite a while ago. I think this color process that we have chosen is non-offensive. I think it's conservative, and I think it's classic. And I'm hoping that you guys are going to view this in the bigger scheme and the big picture like I have it in my mind.
I'd just like to clarify something. The house remains historic. It was changed in 1907. It's 114 years ago. The house as it sits today is listed on the National Register as a contributing historic structure to Tuxedo Park. So it still remains to be a designated historic structure.
Okay, but just because it's a historic structure, I mean, I have no idea when that putty pink stucco went on, that color. I have no idea. I mean, was it on in 1907? Or was it on, you know, the years after that? I have no idea when the brown trim went on. We have no historical facts regarding this. So
Well, it's easy to do forensics on paint. That's not a difficult thing to determine.
Okay, then, no, that's fine. But what I'm saying is that you know, we do not want, again, and I can't stress this enough, we do not want for this to become a contentious, you know, project. We do not want the putty pink. We do not want the brown. We do not want black. We do not want white, and we do not want beige. These colors are classic. Take that however it is, but they are classic and they're conservative and they're non-offensive. And I think, yes, the house is large. Yes, the house is long. And I think, you know, in the scheme of the park with all these other houses that are by me, there is an enormous number of blue timbering going on. Enormous number of blue timbering going on. And I see no difference, even though you do call this a historic house, fine, I'll give you that, that's absolutely fine. But I see absolutely no difference in what we are achieving to do, which again, is not offensive to what other people have done to their properties and their homes.
Do any of the board members want to make a comment?
So what you're proposing, Nanaya, is the middle one on this picture here, the bachelor blue,
A bachelor blue,
not the comment above, and
No.
not the one suggested
the
below.
ocean floor was, Christopher, I believe you were not here, but everybody else was, and that was, I'm not quite sure if it was like, sort of like it was a quick suggestion, I think, right? From all of you towards kind of like the end, that ocean floor.
But in the context of your roof, it is quite handsome, I have to say, and you don't see that in this panel. And it does have a kind of a natural slatish look, although I appreciate that it is not your preference.
Well, Sheila, it looks black. And this is the thing, you see, when you're driving up the road, it's going to look black.
Well, I mean,
It's just will. And it's like maybe a shade away from black.
well, I mean, it was only one suggestion too, but these are the only options you have provided us.
But there are 3 options that I provided.
They're all in the same color scheme.
Right.
Robert, Christopher,
I
Bosher.
mean, I have so many thoughts. Obviously, Nanaya, as you know, we talked extensively about this. You were very set on this narrow range of choices, so it was very hard to have a constructive conversation about alternatives that sort of factored in all of the responses that we had. I mean, quite frankly, the ocean floor, which is very dark, was in some ways a mad grasping in the interest of keeping it from being contentious on our part to find something that you had gathered together that was acceptable in the eyes of all the people present, right? So it wasn't necessarily anyone's first choice. It was an urge to try to find a middle ground, which you handily and quickly dismissed. I mean, you brought it back today, but of course, none of us had a chance to look at it.
Well, Sheila did come out to have a peek.
Oh, did Sheila? Yeah. I mean, I'll just repeat some of the things I said. I don't want to get into whether it's Tyrolean or not. It's a completely singular house. It's the second iteration of a very historic house, which all of its charm and significance is in the fact that it is singular. I have never seen a combination of elements quite like this. It absolutely, in a perfect sort of arts and crafts, sort of promiscuous way, samples from Tudor Tyrolean, I agree, and a number of other styles. When you talk about the arbor, including hints of Frank Lloyd Wright and his Mayan style. So it is a very singular house with many influences. No one was ever trying to box it into a corner, which I believe was sort of a straw dummy for you and some of the people who've written in to the board to say that we were trying to call it a Tudor house. No one ever did. So that was a straw dummy. What I would say is this, and I tried to convey this when we were talking, if you were able, because you wanted a very certain thing and you would marshal arguments for it that brooked no dissent or other alternatives. But I'll repeat myself. If value, so color has 2 elements, hue and value. Value is darkness. If value is the operative and critical consideration for you and for Hume, then we should explore alternatives that hue, as it were, to that, right? If color, and by color I mean hue, H-U-E, is what is the thing that you are most concerned with, right? And you want something in this family, even if it runs risking the possibility of the entire house looking like Veruca Salt post blueberry transformation. If that is what you want, then I think you do want to go with the darker ocean floor. I think probably the most successful solution to this problem is to look at some neighboring gray color families that would allow you to get the field a little bit darker and allow you to keep the trim as pale, that is to say, not strong in value, as the color you want in the middle here. And yet have it not look like a blueberry.
Okay. I hear you. I really do. I want to know what it is that you all find so incredibly offensive about these colors.
I think it's not a matter of it being offensive. I think what, from my personal opinion, is that what I'm hearing from you and what was expressed at our meeting, you're very passionate about wanting to freshen the house up. And I agree with you. It looks tired and dowdy, and who likes that beigey, pinky color that, well, it's drab, right? You want to freshen it up. You want your palette in a specific family. My personal opinion is that this is in the lavender family. When you look in the Benmore book and you line up the color chips, it's on the lavender side. And my feeling is that when you paint the entire house body, the two colors together are not going to actually achieve what you want. I think it's going to be very lavender and periwinkle, and
I have to say, I don't see
it's going to be
periwinkle.
very bright. It's going to be very, very bright.
You think it's going to be very, very bright.
Yes.
Okay, so the Metro blue that you're, the Metro gray, excuse me, that you're looking at for the stucco right now is one coat.
Right.
It is not two coats, and it is not three coats. The Bachelor blue that you're looking at is two coats. And I did speak to my painter about this, and he said to get the depth of any color in painting, it depends how many layers you put on it.
Correct.
So he did say to me, the Metro gray, which is again the stucco, when you put another layer onto that, it will look definitely deeper and more gray than what it does now, which is kind of like almost like a whitish kind of thing. And with the Bachelor blue, he said the same. That is definitely going to make the color richer. At this point, I just don't even know what to say. I mean, I thought long and hard about these colors. I've taken pictures of houses in the park with similar color schemes, and they look beautiful. And I think I think thinking outside the box and allowing something which is perhaps non-traditional in your eyes. I think that's maybe what the hesitancy is. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I've actually thought about this for days and days and days, thinking what is it that these colors are producing this enormous amount of, kind of like non-acceptance. And I honestly have not been able to come up with much. I feel that given that I'm a power walker and I walk all over the park and I see the color schemes of many, many different houses, I feel that at this point we're being singled out because perhaps there's just too much of this gray blue going on, or that we're being discriminated against. I mean, I just don't know which one it is. But at this point, we have tried to do exactly what you guys have suggested. We tried this different color combinations, which are the two, and then the last one, which is, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love gray and I love slate gray. I like to wear them. Okay, I don't like to paint them. I'm hoping that you guys are just going to think about this, because I don't want to be rude and I definitely don't want to be dismissive. And I truly appreciate what you guys do. I
Well,
really
I
do.
mean, I have to say, I take a little umbrage at being accused of being either discriminatory or singling you out. I think it's more a focus on the gorgeous historic house that you own and are concerned about seeing it in the park for decades to come and maintaining its historic look. And we may have differences of opinion, but that is our focus, and it's consistent with the house over time. And it isn't a newer home where there's less concerns about the hues of the house. And at this point, I mean, we kind of are at a standstill. You haven't provided us other options that you would find acceptable. We can take a vote now. And if we take a vote now and it's negative, you have the option to appeal it to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Or if you are comfortable to show us some more, and I know time is of the essence for you, we can do that. But I think unless anyone else has anything to add, and I'd like to give anyone a chance, I
Yeah,
think
let me-
we're ready to take action.
Yeah, I'd like to make some comments. I wouldn't call the house, well, first of all, we're having this robust discussion because we care deeply and greatly about your house. It's not, so we're not being dismissive or discriminatory. We really care about it. So we want it to end up in a win-win situation, that you're happy and that we're happy and the park is happy. The Bachelor Blue, I liked that contrast. Maybe it's because the others were weaker and it looked a little bit too like a dowager that has gray hair and had a blue rinse. And that's what we don't want. We don't want that sort of obvious sort of, so I like the Bachelor Blue because it had more contrast. Seeing this ocean bottom thing, ocean floor color, wow, I love that even more. I find that so less likely to be problematic. The Bachelor Blue, I think could work, but it could not work. It could look like a lavender, potpourri. It'd be with the fading of this, with the sun and everything. It could look too pastel-y, whereas this one is so robust and so dramatic, and really gives this dowager some street credibility. And I love it, and I think that, and I would be so happy if that was the one that was chosen. And I feel that the contrast would be getting what you want once it's actually done there, once it's actually put up. I feel that it's. I don't feel that it's going to come across black and white and very, but it's going to come a strong, dramatic. It's going to butch the house up a little bit because it's beautifully feminine with all the windows. But and with the Bachelor Blue, it may make it more feminine if it goes to that more pastel optics. Whereas this one, you're much safer, much more guaranteed you're going to get the effect you want with this ocean floor. Sorry. So that's my thought. It's, we have a wide range of opinions on this. I am perhaps a little bit more of a I mean, it's a pastiche of styles and architectural elements and additions over the years, and especially with that amazing terrace, with that code stone, whatever it is, which could be Indian, could be Mayan. I think it's amazing how it works together. And so here's something adding to the 21st century to it. And I don't think it's being disrespectful. I think, we have to think outside of the box and sometimes add something new to something, take a risk sometimes. I think the Bachelor Blue may be too risky. It could be fantastic or not, but I think this ocean floor, I think that would work great. And it'd be wonderful if that was something you could see, because I think that would be something we would be able to be happy. And I think at the end of the day, it would be the ideal solution.
Well, thank you, Christopher, for everything you said there. And that was, you just perfectly, both in tenor and also in substance, you captured the kind of consensus and compromise, constructive compromise that we were all desperately reaching for after a conversation that didn't seem to be going anywhere constructive. You know, we mentioned many, many other alternatives. We looked at the sugar maple beyond and various other things that are in sight and alternatives of ways to freshen it up. This ocean floor seemed to be something concrete in hand that was within our range of vision at that moment, speaking to you, that seemed like a way out of the impasse, and something that was essentially doing what you felt very strongly about doing. You know, I do think if you want an easy answer and you want people to give you an aye vote tonight, that would be the very sensible choice. You know, it might not have been anyone else's first choice, but it seems like a good one, a good compromise, something that it has to be something that you're excited about, of course. And if it qualifies as that, then in my mind, it is a good solution, a good compromise. A couple of things, just because you did say a number of things earlier, you know, the other houses that have this trim, and by the way, I, as a board member, had it come up and had my opinion been asked for, or my vote been asked for, I never would have voted aye on either of them. The two in particular I'm thinking of that are remotely comparable to this are, although they do fall a little bit more squarely in that Tudor category, is Whitty, and also the one down on pond number 3, you know, that is now called Sol Lago, right? I don't think those are successful color schemes. I wouldn't have approved them. But for the record, in the code, there are many, you know, we are empowered to try to, you know, preserve the beauty of the park as a collective whole on the basis of a number of criteria, one of which is if there is too much repetition of something, of a trope. If you look closely at the code, you will see that that is a danger that the people who drafted up the code, I assume this particular provision dates from 52, but that they envisaged and that they prepared for. So you know, I mean, it isn't always a question of safety and numbers. That can be a con, not a pro, right? But again, this house is sui generis. It is completely singular. I mean, it is a very important, it is so endlessly published, this house, in certainly in its original iteration, but even in this one. It's not an insignificant house, and it's very public, and a lot of people see it. And again, just to kind of support what Christopher was saying, if there is a sense on your part that there is something discriminatory or unkind or uncharitable, or it really isn't. This is about the matter at hand and the house at hand, and it's a very important one. And I'm sorry if it feels contentious. I think we did strive to find a way to make it constructive and meaningful, both in the site visit and the last time we talked. But if one is looking for a very quick yes or no, and that's going to leave you in a position of not having to appeal, then I would think that ocean floor is a very sensible solution.
Which is one color down on the chart.
Well, well, I mean, okay, so again, I appreciate all the constructive criticism, I really, really do. But at the end of the day, it's as if, you know, I would have to live in my house with something, I mean, it's our house. And, you know, we have to live in it every day. We have to look at it every day, and we have to love it forever. So, you know, again, I understand that, you know, I understand what you guys are trying to do and lead me towards what you consider to be a more considerate color scheme, given the amazing house. However, again, you know, we're the ones that have to live in it and love it forever. And I think I try to do everything by the book. I actually even read the architectural guide of Tuxedo Park. And I didn't find anything that said in there that the colors had to be approved. There was all this stuff about, you know, building and materials and this and this and that, but there was nothing in there about color approval. And that's what I looked at. Perhaps there should have been something else I should have looked at. I don't know. When I started this whole process, I didn't even know I had to go. After reading that book, I didn't even know I had to go to the board. But I just called and said, do I have to do this just to make it right? And apparently it was like, yes, you do. And I was like, okay, fine, no problem. And you know, him and I have tried to work with you guys, and we've tried to do the color schemes, and we tried, you know, but at the end of the day, we have to love it.
Well, oh, I hear your point. I think we've made our points. So at this point, we have to decide what to do. And I think, you know, I think I know how the board is, or the bar is going to vote. Would you like us to take a vote, or do you want to show us other alternatives besides the one that you're willing to live with?
I know what you're going to vote. I'm not going to provide any more alternatives because I thought about this long and hard. And I'm actually, I have to say, I haven't been able to sleep. I've been thinking about this. I've been talking to people. I've been trying to figure it out. And this is it. This is my color scheme. And I know you're going to deny it. And that's your prerogative. But it's also my prerogative to follow through what I think would look best for my house, since I have to live in it.
And I am sorry that it's contentious and we can't reach a happy medium here. I really am. But I guess at this point, we can make a motion to, we'll make a motion to see if there's any support for approving the, what is it, Bachelor Blue trim, and what was the name of the
Metro Gray.
Metro Gray walls for 24 Tower Hill Road East. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Christopher Gao?
Sorry, you're proposing?
I'm asking, we're asking if you want to approve the color scheme proposed. Yay or nay?
So I'm a yay.
Christopher Gao is a yay. Christopher Boshiers,
Nay.
Josh Aaron,
Nay.
Rob McQuilkin,
Nay.
and I'm going to vote nay as well. So I regret to say that on the majority votes against the proposal, the proposition. We're happy to take it up again if you have a change, or you can appeal to the BZA. Thank you for all your time, and I'm sorry that we could not reach a resolution.
Yep, this was very disappointing. Thank you, guys.
For all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the second item on the agenda is the Shoemaker application, 104 Clubhouse Road, for pool, patio, spa, wall, trellis, and structure. Are the Shoemakers and their representatives here?
I'm here,
Sorry,
Karen. Owen.
learning how to unmute.
Okay. Do you want to share with us what's changed besides getting your approvals from the BZA since our last meeting,
Yes,
and give us a little refresher?
sure. If I could share the screen, please.
You may.
Okay. So here is the Shoemaker project. We received the zoning variance for a 26-foot side yard, which just this corner of the spa it meets, and also a corner of the swimming pool meets. We made the swimming pool slightly smaller in order to make it 26-foot side yard. We made it 15 feet as opposed to 16 feet wide. We also made it a slightly not as long by 1 foot. It's now 46 wide, and that allows a 32-foot rear yard setback. We eliminated a patio over here to make it more of a green space to minimize the hardscaping. And since we received the approval from the BZA, we specified fencing, actual fencing types. We also showed the pool equipment. This was on the BZA drawing. We did have a generator back here, but found out from the engineer that it needs to be 5-foot clearance from all vegetation. So we moved it to the front of the fence. We showed a trash enclosure instead of an existing prefabricated trash enclosure. And I think that is about it. We had a few comments from the engineer and we addressed them this morning, and he is happy with how they were addressed. So, and then I can remind you of what we're trying to accomplish is something like this with very minimal, a very minimal look. Just the bluestone coping and the swimming pool with grass on all sides, and we're creating a garden room for the swimming pool with the boxwood hedge here and the existing green giant arborvitaes along the side. And I also want to remind you that the project is well screened by existing green giants and also screened from the road by existing boxwood hedge. And here are some photographs to illustrate that. Here's the front. These boxwood hedges hide the swimming pool. Here's a view looking towards those boxwood swimming pools where, boxwood hedge where the swimming pool will be located. Here's a view looking in towards the rear property line where it's mostly screened, but there's a little view into the driveway. So we're proposing a closed wooded fence here to help with the screening, and also putting additional holly evergreen plants there. And then this is the green giant arborvitaes that exist. And as you can see, you can hardly see the house. In probably 2 years, you won't see the windows at all of the house. And then this is just walking into the Shoemaker property. And then this is the existing patio. And then again, the swimming pool will be right in this vicinity.
Thank you.
So that's the project.
Okay, does anyone on the bar have any comments?
What an incredible program. I think it's as successful from what we can see here and what you're proposing, Karen, as it feels kind of almost inevitable, like it wants to be there. There's nothing about this plan that doesn't feel right to my eye. I think it'll be a great enhancement to the property itself and therefore to the neighborhood and the larger community.
A couple of questions about the pool equipment. Did you say that's somewhere that I see it's recessed or it's hidden, or what's
It's
that?
right here, and it'll
Right.
be below the fence. It's
Okay.
also hidden from the Shoemakers by the green giants.
Great. And the second thing was that you'd mentioned holly. Which type of holly are you going to use?
We're gonna
Holly
use
or-
we're gonna use Ilex crenata, the Japanese holly that looks like boxwood.
So you're not going to use American holly, the native one.
No, the Shoemaker's like a more formal look.
Okay. That's my only comments.
Okay, I know that we have an endorsement of your project by a neighbor. I don't have all the details on who that is, but I know we have one. And,
From the Huntingtons, I believe, who are in the old Whitney house.
oh,
And this-
and to me, it looks like an elegant pool property.
Is there any kind of acoustical screening or buffering around the generator plan?
We did not plan any fencing, only because it would have made the fence be all the way over here, and felt that was just too close to the I didn't like the idea of the fence there. This felt so large just to screen the small generator. And it's only noisy once a week, I believe. Is that correct?
Well, once a week, and it seems quite often now we have power outages, and you can kind of hear these generators echo through the park everywhere. I see what you're saying about not having the fence there, but I would kind of hope if there's something else that could be done to kind of suppress the noise a little bit, that would be a good thing.
I mean, before we had a generator, I think it was more of a nuisance to have a portable generator, which felt like a lawnmower going around, which was used for that temporal period during the hurricane this year. So I think in terms of levels of kind of obnoxious noises, this is actually a step up from what we had last summer.
But
Or
is there
step
something
down.
to do to surround it or to do?
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll of course consider that, and see what's best, because the last thing we want to do is create a situation that's contentious with our otherwise very friendly neighbor.
And where's the propane tank for the?
I think it's right there.
The propane tank is, I don't have my glasses on, but it should be pretty apparent. It's behind the driveway where, yeah.
It's right where the generator, it's in front of the generator.
Yeah.
No, that's a underground propane tank you
It
already
is,
have.
yeah. It
Oh, okay.
pre-existed us.
Okay.
I don't know us formally, but us living there.
This is John Ledwith speaking. Can we just go over the fence plan? I don't know if the bar is aware of the fence style and material. I noticed that earlier today. It just didn't seem consistent with what we've approved in the past.
So the fence from here in this area is a pretty well see-through fence. It's this style because there will be boxwoods on both sides. So the idea is that you don't see it at all. Where from the house to and including the gate, it will look like this. It would be painted white, the same color as the trim of the house, but this type style of fence. And that style of fence will also be over here. There will be a segment of that fence here. The gate will be there, and then the segment here, and then it changes to the wire fence that you don't see. And then the wood fence would be back here again. And then in this area would be the wire fence. So because all that you'll really see are the arborvitae. You don't really see any of the fence because it's black and it fades. So in my experience, you really just see the vegetation when you put that kind of fence in. And that's why we didn't want to use it over here, because we felt like there is a need for additional screening in this area.
I guess I was referring to, the rails being PVC or PVC coated.
Yeah, that's what most of the deer fence in the park is. It's black, and the idea is just for it to blend. This is a little more industrial than we're proposing. It just was difficult to find an actual picture. It will be a similar. It'll be the minimal that will support the weight that's required by pool enclosure regulation. And then this is going to be a square this is showing as a rectangle, but it's the 2x2 square that's inside. I use the same fence for the shore property that because it was hidden, with hedging on both sides. And it's very similar to the deer fencing that you see. And we also use something similar to this over at the Beards property around their tennis court. And we had holly in front of the Beards fencing, and that's what we're proposing. Well, we already have it, actually, the boxwoods right here. So the idea is that wherever we're putting this fence, it you really don't notice it.
So on the upper left part, between the neighbors, if you go on, so there's sort of like a gap there. Is that just because you haven't filled it in, or yeah, that area there?
So it's actually the arborvitae, I think it is a little closer than we're showing. We didn't have exact, we didn't show. It's not, I don't know, it's not, the arborvitae I think might be a little closer in here than what we're showing.
But for the other side, for the neighbors, then are the
Over
neighbors?
here, there is a gap here.
Well, and the arborvitae will fill.
It will definitely fill in, yes.
So, so I'm seeing that there's these little circles here that finish halfway. And so you go to the top line, bring the arrow to the top and go down to the right, carry along that line down to the right, carry on.
Oh, this is this existing stone retaining wall.
Oh, okay, got it.
So it's like, I show you the picture in the front.
So as long,
Right
hiding
here.
on both sides.
This
That's
is it.
the important thing.
This is the stone wall. And that just, the stone wall carries around like it's shown. Carries around like that.
So the existing boxwood hedge there, that's where your arrow is right now, that would cover the new fencing that's going in?
That's the intention, and the landscaper has to, I think we might have to let it grow another half a foot to a foot, but it will easily grow. It's the type of boxwood that's a faster growing one, the winter green. So, and actually, if they leave it, if they don't trim the top of it this summer, it'll pretty much hide the fence. But you are viewing the fence from the road very low, so I think the boxwood from the road is going to screen the top rail of the fence. It's just when you're in a little closer, you might see it, but ultimately this will grow and fill in.
And Karen,
that's the intention. And I'm sure the shoemakers don't want to have it seen from any view at all. And actually, we're going to put in as big as they can get the hollies back here, which will also help screen it more quickly, because if you just have vegetation behind it, it does wonders to screen that fence.
Looks great.
Thank you.
I love how you reduce the hardscape. It's really going to be beautiful.
Yeah, it's very minimal. That was, the shoemakers really wanted this, especially in a cold. We worked hard on that.
Good, Karen.
Does anyone else have anything? Christopher Gow, you want to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve the Shoemaker Residence Conceptual Landscape Master Plan, plan number L1 for 104 Clubhouse Road, dated revised date today, right? Or was it yesterday?
Yes.
Revised
Latest
date,
revision is today.
May 20th. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have fun, y'all.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Bye-bye.
our next applicant for this evening, it's the Friedmans and Waltmans. Are you here?
Yes, we are.
Hi, hello.
Hello, how is everyone?
Greetings.
Greetings. So
I missed the last meeting, and I understand this is about the issue of the installed skylights. Would you like to tell us, and you were asked to come back with a proposal, would you like to share what your plan is or what your success is?
I would, but maybe for the benefit of Christopher Bashir. So, I mean, Sheila, you caught the first movie in 2017 and 2018. Maybe I can just give 2-3 minutes of summary for Christopher Bashir, who's a new name. And also here this evening we have Andrew Lefkowitz from Barless Wedlick, our architects. We have Brett Schneiderman from Margie Ruddick Landscape Architects, who's has input on the landscape. And we have Hank Christensen from Norton Christensen, who's also advising us. So maybe very quickly, we bought our house in the spring of 2016. It's an 1880s historic house, but it had fallen into some neglect, and it had a 1950s kitchen addition that was reasonably forlorn. And our plan was to add 2 overhangs to the 50s edifice, a screened-in porch, and a carport. So again, these were additions to not a historic house, but just to this 1950s addition. And we were also cutting back the driveway by 2/3 and creating more lawn and less asphalt. And it took us about a year to get a plan approved through the bar through the summer of 2017. And, we came into Tuxedo Park because we fell in love with the beauty, the natural beauty and the architecture, and we wanted to do the right thing and be respectful and be a good neighbor. So we finally had an approved plan the summer of 2017, but we really felt like the bar was, not very happy with our plan, even though it had been approved. And so we wanted to do the right thing, and so that gave us pause, and we actually spent 6 months looking for a new design team, and we hired Andrew and his colleagues and Brett and Margie from Margie Ruddick Design. We came up with a new design that was much more sensitive and fits better with Tuxedo Park. And then we went back to the bar and we got that approved in one shot. We appreciate the input from the bar because we really do think that the design is much better. So we started construction in the beginning of 2019. We were moving along through early 2020. And then we got shut down by COVID for what ended up being about 5 months. And by that time, the structures for the screened-in porch and for the carport were up, but we had 5 months of living under a tarp because we had not had any of the sheathing or shakers put on top. So when things opened up during the summer, the sheathing people came back, the framers came back, they put on the plywood, and that part of the house is somewhat dark because there are tons of very large, mature and beautiful trees, which we did not cut down. But once the sheathing was put on, suddenly our kitchen became very dark. You couldn't read the newspaper without turning on the lights. And our dining room also became dark. Part of our plan had been to open up one of the windows that had been closed over by the previous owner, which we did. But suddenly the top of the carport was over that and there was no light coming in. So it felt as if someone had put a big pot on your head in the middle of the day and you still couldn't see. And at that point, we had to very quickly make a decision. It was August of 2020. If we were going to go back to the bar asking for permission to try and fix something, we were going to lose our roofers. They said that they were overbooked. We had to beg to have them come back in August. That they would see us in the spring of 2021, and we would have to live with tarps over that part of the house for another 8 months. So the Barless Wedlick team came in. Their recommendation was to place 3 skylights. One would not be seen from anywhere on public roadway. 2 would be very, very discreet. They're small and for the most part, hardly visible. We went with that recommendation. And the feeling was that if you looked at the totality of the project, it was not even a rounding error. It obviously has created some dyspepsia for the board. And we apologize for that. We do think it's important to recognize that these are not on the historic part of the home. They're on a 50s addition. We did we think, a tremendous job making that 50s addition now kind of speak well and fit in with the rest of the home and the rest of Tuxedo Park. And importantly, they're also incredibly discreet, and 1 is invisible and 2 are hardly visible. And Andrew Lefkowitz can go over the plan just so people can get oriented. But based on the interaction that we had with the bar last month, our comeback to you all is to plant about a dozen trees that would provide very significant screening. So there would be evergreens along the Ridge Road side, which at this point is kind of a natural woodlands. So they would fit right in and be with species that are completely consistent with what's growing there. And they would screen out the view of one of the skylights. And then the second would be to plant a half a dozen lilac and other trees that would also create screen from East Lake Road. And maybe Andrew, maybe you can just share a screen.
Or would it be okay if I share screens?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so this is the landscape plan that Martin was referring to, and just to remind and run through the drawings really quickly, the portion of the project that we're talking about is this end of the house, which is to the south of the property, with the screened-in porch and the screened-in porch on this side and the carport here. We provided some before and after photographs of this is the some recent photographs, and the skylights that we're referring to are here on the two small on the that open into the kitchen, and the skylight on the back side of the carport. So these are the kitchen skylights. This one is the one that is visible for a small section from Ridge Road. The other is invisible, and this is the carport skylight that is visible for a small section of East Lake Road. And the landscape plan has been updated to show some additional screening by East Lake Road and by Ridge Road here as well.
Are you, Andrew, are you finished, or?
Yeah, yes, for that portion, we also we were also gonna speak a little bit about the gate, which we talked about last time, but I didn't know
Well,
if you wanted to.
why don't we do that also, Andrew, and just talk through it.
Absolutely. So
Bob was kind enough to send along some inspiration images, and we found them very helpful. And there was one that we liked enough to adopt. And so the feedback from the bar last month was that the gate looked too much like a house entry.
I thought this was a great improvement, Martin. I thought it was, and it really, yeah.
Thank you.
Right. So this is we took the comments from the bar into consideration from the last meeting, and revised the approach, and also spoke to some installers who have installed gates and landscape elements in the park previously. And so this is based on a customized version of a gate that the installer can provide. And we liked, because as we discussed last time, the gate is 7 feet tall to align to the deer fencing, which is hidden behind the screening. We liked sort of the light open feeling of the lattice work, so that it didn't feel as imposing. And so we this is a reference photograph. We would like to do it in painted white so that it matches the wooden elements of the home. And it would have blackened metal gate hardware, as well as some natural copper details on the top of the cap.
Great. Can I speak just to some of the screening issues that you had on the screen, Andrew, earlier?
Yes.
I don't know if you, oh, yeah, there you go. So if you look at the Ridge Road area and you see where there's a boxed little section where you've got a whole number of things there. I guess my question would be, I walked there a month or two ago, and I saw a wonderful profusion of white pine, I think spruce or fir as well, but a lot of white pine saplings, that were already hitting, 3 and 5 feet, I think even, it was a wonderful, maybe some American beech, I think, I can't remember. It's been a while, but it was a nice sort of mix of almost entirely native trees. And, there's no tree that's happier than the one that sort of planted itself. And I guess my question is, my own opinion, I may disagree with a couple other board members, is that the skylights for the kitchen on the window side, because they are small, because they are square, which is in my mind a more traditional skylight kind of configuration. And you see skylights that date back from the time of this house, that are square like that. Because they're small, because they're square, because they're symmetrically sort of deployed, on either side of the peak, I just find them pretty unobjectionable, and I don't see that the screening issue needs such a strong intervention that on balance it's better to rip up all of these young saplings to plant something else that might very well, when you get things at a nursery, the success rate is, I don't know what it would average out to, but it's certainly below 80%, right? And probably more like 65 or 70%. And so why do that when you've already got, if you wait 3 years, let alone 10, you're going to have a little woods that completely buffs you, I think, in a way that'll be nice for the Friedmans themselves. I mean, not to be seen, but that's just my 2 cents about the screening.
Well, I think for that, we would, be curious what the rest of the bar has to say, because the screening we're proposing is in response to your other bar colleagues.
Well, certainly, I'll be happy to discuss the screening. What Rob was saying it seems to underline and underscore what Margie and her colleagues are doing with your garden, that it's not instant gratification. It's this wonderful, respectful approach, so that, yes, your garden doesn't look perfect at the moment, but it's going to grow into something amazing. And it's this gentle approach as opposed to where a lot of other gardens, it's just instantly done. And that is so on Tuxedo Park. So we appreciate what you've been doing so far. So now, with this screening, which is response to dealing with the elephant in the room, which is, that big skylight on the other side of how to hide it. Because we do not want to see it. It was put there without permission. We would not have given permission for it. So the only chance it has of staying is if we do not see it. So we have to be absolutely 100% sure that we don't see it. And by relying on, Mother Nature and, the instant screening isn't 100% and isn't a guarantee. So my sort of suggestion, that would make me happy and not demand that you remove the big skylight, would be to, yes, do this screening, but I would want a little bit more of a guarantee, and that somehow if you put a temporary shingles on that screen, so and then so it couldn't be seen until the vegetation grew out or the trees grew out, or we review it in midwinter and see when, you know, if some of them are deciduous, the way we can see it. And hopefully, you know, it'll be successful, and we think that was great, and we'll give, you know, full approval, and this skylight can stay, can be revealed again, and everyone will be happy. So that's my thought on it, so that we absolutely we get to the same goal of you having the skylight and us being happy that you've done the appropriate measures to kind of address something that was, you know, that was wrong.
Do any of the other bar members have any comments?
I'm not sure I agree that relying on a tree is the best way to kind of obscure this. Again, you know, we're talking about a historic home, and it's a very unhistoric element, at least, you know, at least one or two of the skylights for sure. And we're relying an awful lot on vegetation to cover up an issue. And that's frankly something that I just am not comfortable with.
My understanding, I think that Josh and Christopher and I, and maybe Christopher Boshiers too, that the one that's most problematic is the garage, the ones over the garage. Is that accurate?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only one that I'm worried about, but I think it is a genuine worry. I mean, because one thing is when you talk about use of the house, Martin, I mean, and being able to read at the breakfast table, that seems to me to be a very, you know, critical consideration, right? And it just so happens that the lights, the skylights that really seem, at least to me, but maybe to others as well, not so problematic, are the ones that solve that problem. I guess my question would be, how essential is it that you have natural light in the garage? I mean, do you feel that that's?
Well, the only reason, so the garage is a carport, and it's immediately adjacent to our dining room. And we opened up a window in the dining room that had long been covered by the previous owners, and we restored it. And then the carport kind of came on top of it. So the reason for the skylight in the carport is because that allows natural light to come into the dining room at that window that was opened up.
There's a window not being seen.
Right, and can we show the original maybe, because we can just see. If you could flip to the left. So
the original is this.
Right, so that bare wall is where a window was in the dining room. For some reason, it was closed over by the old owners. We restored it, but then the carport came and sat on top of it. You know, perhaps Brett Schneiderman from Margie Reddick can talk about the plantings along the Ridge Road side for a moment, because Rob, we're very sensitive to your issue around what's there and having it, you know, continue to grow, because that's, you know, their key focus. Maybe Brett, can you talk about that?
And just before Brett chimes in, just to be perfectly clear, so what I was trying to get across is the idea that maybe the ones in the kitchen are simply not so objectionable that they require an immediate intervention of that kind. Unlike, say, the one on the carport, that surely, if it stays, it will require some kind of intervention. So what I would suggest,
the other bar members agree to that.
So what I would, just if I could finish though, so what I was suggesting is that along Ridge Road, that you don't intervene with the existing, you know, kind of little patch of woods that's growing up, and any intervention by way of plantings would be more on the other side on East Lake Road.
And good evening, everyone. I'm Brett Schneiderman. I'm a landscape architect and certified arborist with Margie Reddick Landscape. And Rob, I loved your comments. In fact, that little spot on Ridge Road is just really cool and touching. It's a really natural forested area. I think there was an old spruce or hemlock there that is long gone before our time, and that sort of decay in area has become a real fertile ground for beech pine, it's spruce and fir, and it's like a little nursery in that corner. You know, unfortunately, over the last year and a half, the winter storms and a lot of other actions have really impacted the forest along this corridor, along Ridge Road. In fact, this particular property was rich with hemlocks, and all of the hemlocks are dying and on their way out. In fact, hemlock would have been my first choice to come in and do some screening, but we can't win the battle with the woolly adelgid and the elongated scale, and the energy to do that is prohibitive. So we moved from hemlocks, which again, this probably once was a hemlock and oak forest.
Right.
But that winter storm came through, and we lost four trees in this area, and on this particular area, you lost 3 trees as part of the pole restoration, the 2 black oaks and I think the chestnut oak that were there, which really opens up the view in here. So we are taking what we call sort of a surgical sensitive approach, where we try to find the right plant that's going to perform and fit in character here. And along Ridge Road, we're looking at Picea aves and Juniper virginiana, both very manageable, very hardy, and create a full screen. And to we looked at this, we went out with a 15-foot extension measuring stick to sort of test the views and test the screens and try to find the locations that really work, because we're not looking to put in a hedgerow or a wall. We want this, we want there to be grace, and this to be to fit in with what's there now. And currently there's a number of maples in the area, and then you have the larger chestnut oak for the overstory, and then across for beautiful beech, and then you get into the larger oaks and rhododendron understory that's on the property. So the logic behind these plantings is to fit in with what we see in Tuxedo Park, and we see a range of spruces and junipers used for these applications. And it provides a full screening.
Thanks, Brett. Sorry, I guess I misunderstood. I thought that the screening was being put in place specifically to address the windows, and that's why I was saying, maybe less is more. But if it's a question of providing the Friedmans, if it's like a decision that they're actively taking, and that on your advice to screen, that's a whole other matter. And all those choices sound, really good.
So what is your proposal for the front, for the garage?
So
how long will it take?
The proposal for the garage is to plant 6 trees. They're lilac, and
right,
they keep changing because of there's not that much available in the. So what's the current state of play, Brett?
This year has been a particularly challenge. The nursery industry was hit last year with COVID, and then this year there's just low stock, a number of issues. But so we are looking at common lilac and flowering dogwood as what we already started planting in this area, and our idea here also was to extend the landscape. We don't want to interrupt and have walls and limit views. So we actually, we're key on putting in some rhododendrons, native rhododendrons, Rhododendron maximum, that are in drifts, so that there is the extended landscape from the common area along East Lake Road up through the private areas, and you see that a meadow or a lawn that just extends and doesn't create short views.
I just have a hard time visualizing how that is going to cover and imminently the
because it's hardly visible now. So what we're talking about is probably something like 10 yards if you're walking up East Lake Road as to when you can see that skylight, because there's all this pattern of existing hemlock and other trees in that, public triangle, that the village owns, between between East Lake Road and Tuxedo Road. So, that's the irony of all this, in that these are one of the skylights is certainly invisible, and the other two are virtually invisible. So, like the one that's on the carport, you need to know it's there and look for it, and then for a 10-yard space of East Lake Road, you can see it, and then it just disappears because there's everything else kind of growing about it. And so our suggestion is to plant 3 of the lilacs kind of close to the edge of our property. And so the canopy of that in spring and winter, will create, more cover. And then to plant 3 more trees closer to the home for that same effect. But the overall visibility of these 2 skylights at this point is, exceedingly low. And so some of this discussion is just more around, theory than actuality.
Well, not totally, in the sense that, we have disallowed applications for skylights on numerous occasions. And you're asking us, although you've done a wonderful project, and I know this is a very small piece of it, to approve yours retroactively. And I'm just trying to get a justification for doing that, that says it's not seen, which isn't the best justification, because anyone could come and say, okay, I'm going to put one in and I'll put up some trees. So I'm just trying to get to the bottom of, are we really not going to see these now in 3 months, in 6 months? I need a good answer for that, because I try to be fair and equal in how I treat people with regard to their applications.
We understand that. So I think we would say that the kitchen skylight that's visible now with these plantings, should not be visible.
Okay.
But the bottom line is, it's, the large, all I'm really care about is the large one. It's there. Bottom line is, we do not want to see it at all. No chance of seeing it. It's got to be hidden. It's got to be invisible. The trees may do it. It's not a guarantee. We need a guarantee. And so, we'd alluded to something architectural, a screening or a trellis or something. I mean, you have these great elements that have expanded from the carport, these geometric squares, now into the beautiful gate. And it could be extended into something, on that terrace, and permanently, even if a hurricane came and blew all the trees down on your property, we still wouldn't see that skylight. So that's the more sort of draconian action we'd like to see.
Have you explored any kind of architectural fix to this problem that would still allow you your light?
We looked at it, but because of how it's placed, you end up having to have an 8-foot tall screen, on the roof there, which, begins to not do good things for the whole architectural flavor of.
Can I ask a question, Martin? You've got one eyebrow dormer, right? And I know there was a question of structural beams, that you couldn't have 2 smaller ones, right? You could only have 1. Could you enlarge the existing eyebrow dormer? Or is that also hindered by the structural beams?
There are beams there, so we went as far as the beam would permit.
So it's snug between the 2 structural beam. I see.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So look, we're looking to be good neighbors and be respectful of what you all are trying to accomplish as volunteers for a village. So it sounds like the kitchen skylight is less of an issue, and so what if we proceed as we've suggested with planting those trees, which will create a very meaningful screen, but do it in along Ridge Road, but certainly do it in a sensitive way as Brett has laid out. And then we would rip out the carport skylight and just call it a day, because this is taking a lot of energy out of everybody.
We
Well, I
greatly
mean, I think that
appreciate
would
your
be
compromise, your
ideal.
willingness to compromise, and appreciate that you're coming back to the bar and looking to fix what you appreciate is not something we would have approved. What is the members, one of our members was going to speak. I interrupted, I think.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Sheila. Yeah, no, thank you, Martin. I mean, to my mind, that is a gracious and sensible breaking of the impasse, which is there. And to me, it's the wisdom of Solomon. So that is an outcome that would make me relieved and happy, and I could absolutely vote, in a resolution aye for in a second.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's found you've made a swan out of an ugly duckling, and I'm sorry that this practical issue of the light impinged on it. But I think this is, yeah, I heartily agree and very appreciative of what you've done, and that you've suggested this compromise. I would be very happy with that as well.
So we want to make a motion to approve the proposed landscape plan. I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers provided for the Friedman Walton residence. Are they dated May 10th, 2021? Is there a number on them?
I apologize. I think that the title bar, this is page 6.
Page 6 of 7. And there will be a removal of the garage skylight and a matching of the shingles. Carport skylight, I'm sorry. Is there anything else we need to add, anybody? Okay.
Was the gate going to be included in?
Do you want to include, are we approving the gate as well today? Yes. And approval of the gate as proposed, sorry.
Page 7.
On page 7 of the plans. For two Ridge Road. Is there a second?
Sorry, can I just ask one question before we?
Sure.
You mentioned painting it white. Is that a definite, or the one that's illustrated, the more sort of natural colors? Is that not something you're happy with, or is that something you would consider?
The white was in order to keep it more in keeping with the elements of the home. So that was our preference.
It's not white, it's an off-white, but there is a lot of woodwork that is original to the home, as well as new that was added as part of the carport. We also repeated the original woodwork as part of the carport and as part of the screened-in porch. So it's all painted the same color, and the design that we're thinking of is painting it all the same color to feel uniform, as opposed to something that's patchwork.
I do think there's a nice continuity, and I see it picking up some of the muntins, in the bottom story, the basement story. I don't know if this is an elevation. I don't think we would ever necessarily view it, but to me, it seems like a good choice.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Christopher Boshiers?
Aye.
Josh? Aaron?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you very much. And the house, aside from this small tweak, is beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It truly is. Thank you for your patience and all of it.
It's come a
Thank
long
you.
way.
I wish I was
We
the
appreciate
car.
your
It's
input.
the
Thank you.
carport.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, are the Delgado applicants available? Are the Delgados here or the representatives?
I see Omar Delgado here, but
Okay, it's on mute.
You hear me?
yep.
Okay, hold on. Let me, I didn't think we were next. Okay. Hold on.
Oh, we had a cancellation, Mr. Delgado.
Oh, okay.
We thought you might want to wait, if you want to wait a little longer.
No, that's okay. I was enjoying this. It was great. It was great entertainment.
Thank you for your patience.
Hello. Well, anyway, thank you for your time. Can you see me okay?
I
Sure.
can. You want to tell us about the door proposal you have for your?
Okay, yeah, so I just wanted to give you a little historic background from.
Excellent.
All right, so I've been in contact with John since 2019, trying to figure out the carriage door issue. And we finally have come to the point where the door in and of itself is causing a great financial and an emotional hardship to me and my family. So time is of the essence, and we are sincerely seeking your approval so we can make the necessary changes. So firstly, the house is not a designated historic structure because it was recently subdivided, I believe in 2017, to be a single family home. It was a garage or a carriage house as part of a larger home located at 18 Ridge Road. So although this change, it may appear to be, undesirable to the BAR, I believe it will not change the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to nearby properties. And I'm citing this from the New York State Village Law, Section 712B2. And, and I understand this is not a variance-related meeting, but this request to sit in front of the bar is a hardship request, considering the current functionality and condition of the door. So this hardship is unique. It does not apply to a substantial portion of the village. And replicating a similar door would cost well over $10,000. And honestly, it's way out of our budget considering our current financial constraints. So just going into detail about the door, the current door, it's too small to move any type of furniture in the house. It cannot be widened. I'm referencing the side door. It cannot be widened because the electric meter and the panel are right next to the door. So moving the entire electrical system to another side of the house is not the most cost-effective, and it's not the most prudent course of action. The carriage doors are not energy efficient and are not suitable for normal use. They have been made with 2 pellet windows and a wooden base on hinges. My electrical bill this winter went as high as $680 for an 1,100 square foot home, and that is extremely high. They have gaps all around and allow for water and insect intrusion. So the gaps are due to the warping of wood due to the moisture that comes in during the winter. So that's basically where we're at with the door. We have specifics, which what I sent to John, that talks about the type of wood door that we want to replace it with. So I just want to know what your thoughts are.
Can I ask a question, Omar? Are we looking at the proposed replacement, or are we looking at the existing doors, or what are we?
Okay,
looking
well, the existing door is what you see now with the car. The replacement is what, the spec sheet.
Right.
We keep going. Flip up.
2 wide openings and.
Yeah, the other side is actually not, it doesn't function as those are not carriage doors.
Can you move it up one more? So I think you were there to the, no, I mean, to the new drawings of what you're proposing. What, wasn't there one more? Yeah. And these are wood doors.
Yep. And then the idea also, because again, this house, it wasn't really meant to be a single family home. I don't believe they made it to be one. So, we have all types of water coming in. There's no drainage at all. There's no, what do they call the gutters? There's not even an awning. So the idea would also be to put a fabric awning above that single door to match the emerald green, which is already part of the house. We were thinking either of a solid green or evergreen, which is there now, or a stripe, white and evergreen.
Mm-hmm. So am I understanding correctly? So right in the photograph at the top, we have 2 sort of garage door type of doors.
Yeah.
And so And so one of those will be reduced to be a regular door and one will
Yeah.
remain. Is that accurate?
Yeah, but the other door is not even a door, but it looks like a door. It's basically, you know, 2 color windows and
Oh.
a solid, solid wood on the bottom. So the only one that functions, if you want to call it functioning as a door, is the one, if you're looking at it, to the left where the car is.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's an upgrade of quality of the doors that are there, which aren't really even doors.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So are you bringing in the stucco work or is that? or
Yeah,
is-
I'll be bringing in the stucco work.
Yeah, well, I mean, if, the doors look handsome, they look in keeping with what is there now. The solution, for this repurposed building, to me, seems eminently sensible. I don't see anything objectionable about what's being proposed here. And, assuming you're using, as Sheila sort of said, wooden doors, that fit the parameters of the code. To me, it seems very sensible.
Absolutely. Your replacement looked great. I wish everyone would be so thorough with the replacement of the doors like this, and so that they're absolutely appropriate. Thank you for that. The only concern I do have, and you'd probably have to come back for the bar for that, is the awning that you were alluding to. An awning over a window, is one thing. An awning over a door, what is perceived to be a door, could be another thing. But for this purpose, to get you and your family sealed away from the elements, this is great. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on your comment about the awning over the door, we did actually see an awning over the door in one of the historic homes from the 1800s. Do you know the name?
Like a canopy.
It had a canopy type structure over the front. It was actually a door. Do you know which house that was? We bought that historic book from Tuxedo Park, and one of the historic homes does have an awning. So that's why we thought it would be a great idea, to have something. So when
Oh,
it's
I know what you're talking about, Tuckerman 2, I think, right? It's up on Lookout Road. There are a series of awnings on that building.
Yeah, no, and I just kind of like, well, maybe that could work too. I'll keep the same color scheme, and at least I'll have protection when I'm walking in that side.
But I think the one that's over the door is not cloth. I think it's wrought iron and glass.
No. Well, then there is one. You want to reset? You remember where it is in the book? Yeah. I'll just tell you which home I'm talking about, so we know.
The door that you're proposing and what was the garage door, are they different heights?
Well, no, they're not. I mean, obviously the one that it's 36. It's a standard, single hung door. It's single hung door. It would be in the middle, right? Just as you see in the picture, but they wouldn't be different heights. No.
And maybe it's just the rendering, but the rendering here, they clearly look like they're. There we go. They clearly look as if they're different heights.
No, yeah, it's probably just the way it looks.
But the intention would be to bring them to a matching height.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think that would be very important to execute that properly.
I agree.
And you would stain them naturally? Would you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought, we would stain them naturally. I mean, because there are accents of the carriage house that have green. So I'd want to stick with or emerald green. I want to stick with the same color scheme around, so I wouldn't paint the doors. I would keep them the natural wood color, but then everything else around the house just paint with the evergreen. So the name of the house was called Lindley Hall.
Lindley Hall, right? Yeah.
Okay, and that had in the front door a fabric awning or a canopy.
Although I wonder when that was added.
It says 1901.
No.
The house.
Okay.
The house
Okay.
is 1901, but I don't know about the awning.
Maybe you want to think of a couple alternatives that might be acceptable to you too, in case that doesn't looks kind of sleek and not obtrusive given the size of the structure.
Yeah. I mean, just to kind of segue, we lived in a historic neighborhood in Miami, and we actually had to go through a board to put an awning over our front door. It was a neighborhood from the 1930s, and it worked out very nicely. It really added a nice touch to the house. You know, it had the wrought iron framing with the fabric awning. I mean, of course, you have to, I guess with the weather here, it's probably, you have to make sure that there's not too much snow that develops on top. But I think it would really make the house look, really, really nice.
You're going to have added maintenance with that, but that is kind of in keeping with historically what some of these homes would have had.
We probably would like to see a sample of the material you were proposing.
Okay.
Could you also provide a sample as we go further through this of what other kind of hardware that you're going to have on the door, or any other kind of lighting that you might want to propose for the front? Because what's above the doors now? Is that?
Yeah, they're like two little like black lights. Again, this was probably added very ad hoc, just so I didn't even know what they are, but they're very cheap and they're in disrepair. But I've kept them there because I don't want to do anything but of course I would put something that's within standards of the park.
Yeah, maybe add some character with it.
Yeah.
Nice downward facing lighting. So, okay, so do you want to come back with some lighting ideas and
yeah, I mean, again,
you're going in the right direction, we think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, more importantly, like now while the weather's good, like just to kind of get that process going, because even ordering the door takes a while. And then I can, I don't know the process, but I can send you like ideas on the lighting, and like or the information on the awning,
right?
Which is actually the awning that I did research was very good with the winter. So I'll get to the name of the company. It's U.S. made. They're made in the United States, and they've been around since like the 1912s or 19. So.
Well, we appreciate your research and your introduction with your presentation and everything, and
thank you.
You're taking this project.
Okay. Thank you, and I appreciate your time. Again, I'm just like this winter. We haven't been in New York in 15 years, so this winter was kind of like a shocker. And when I got when I got that electric bill of $680, and I'm talking to my neighbors and like, what, $680 for that? And I'm like, yeah. And I tried doing the weather stripping. We had a carpenter come in and try to, but they're just they don't function anymore. It's just and once you start opening them, they don't close right. It doesn't close right.
Well, this would be a great fix.
Thank you.
Oh, I think it'll be an improvement.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it is.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to seeing you again, and we'll try to get you set up.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I think that brings us to the racetrack memo board, which is an addition.
Right, I'll present it, then recuse myself from the.
Okay.
No, we don't even have to vote. It's just a.
No, we don't vote.
Yeah. Can I share the screen and I'll show you?
Sure.
Oh dear. Nothing's coming up, right?
Not yet.
It takes a moment sometimes.
Looks like we're getting to see a movie starring John Ledwith.
Can you see it now?
Not yet.
John, do you have it?
I'm looking for it now. Bear with me.
Because I know we sent it to us.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. I'm going to send you, send it right now. just sent it to you, John.
There you go.
Here it
There we
is.
go.
Oh, not that one. That's no. Well,
Well, that's the only one we have.
yeah, there's a center for the proper one. This isn't really. Well, you can. You can see what it used to be. This is what's currently there. The two temporary signs. So our plan is to replace it with the one that's below it.
You just move it up, right? Move it up on the
Like this.
pole.
That's wonderful.
So that'll be up higher on the post, and that's where we'll have maps and the notices and the
CDC instructions.
right, and the tick warning, that sort of thing. So it was presented to the Board of Trustees last night, and they approved the location, not where this post is at the moment, but on the other side of the barrier. And we decided to put it 90 degrees. So so when you're coming in, you don't see it full on, you just see it from the side. So it's not so intrusive.
Mhm.
There we go. That's the better one there. So you'll see that from the side.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And then there'll be one at the north entrance, which will be beyond the rock with the plaque, where the path starts to lead down. So there'll be one at the north and one at the south. So the BOT have approved them. So we just want to get your thoughts on them to see whether they'd be acceptable for the bar's aesthetics.
Well, first of all, what an incredible shade of green.
That's the DPW special.
Well, I love it. It's great. And the whole thing is, it looks like it's can handle any weather and get the job done and look very charming.
I wouldn't mind if there were a few more of those in the park for some of the messages we get about meetings and stuff. I think it's good looking.
Yeah, I like it.
National Parky.
Great.
Colonial revival vibe to it. I love it.
Thank you. Great. Well,
Thank you.
we appreciate that, and we hope to see you all on June the 5th. You'll be getting the email invitation. We're doing in conjunction with the Garden Club, we're doing a tree planting ceremony in honor of Debbie Matthews, who's retired from the village office, Coco Labar, one of the DPW members, and the trustee liaison to the Tree Advisory Board, who's retiring as trustee, Alan McHugh, as well as our stewards that have been graciously and generously sponsoring the work at the racetrack. So that'll be on June the 5th at 11 at the racetrack. And then up at the Maxwell House at 86 Summit Road, where you can pick as many peonies as you like, and we'll be serving drinks and lunch. But you'll be getting the formal invitation.
What fun.
Sounds lovely.
Thank you. So now we
Well, I just want to see if we have any members of the public on or anyone that wants to make any final comments before we turn to the minutes. Okay, we now have minutes of our last meeting, which Desiree graciously resent. Desiree, do you have the date handy? I think I have it. May 6th. I'd like to make a motion to approve the May 6th meeting minutes of the Board of Architectural Review. Is there a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all and good night.
Thank you,
Have a good
Sheila.
night.
Job well done.
Good night.
Good
Aye.
night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.